Can you use memory wire with magnetic beads? That is the question I'm going to be exploring today. Hello, welcome back. My name's Carol. Today I'm making a memory wire bracelet using some magnetic hematite beads and a whole pile of other beads, and it's going to be kind of dark and moody, you know me, that's my theme. And so let's get started. Make this bracelet. I'm going to walk you step by step through all of the instructions to make it, and I will talk about everything that you need. Remember to watch to the end of the video for a discount code to get 20% off all of the supplies that you need to make this bracelet as well. Let's get started. We're going to start off with some memory wire. We will need about 6 rounds of memory wire, and this is a 5.5 centimeter memory wire. Now if you have a larger wrist, you can adjust the beads by just adding a few more if you wanted to use a 6 or even a 6.5. I've also got a little heart charm here in a Tibetan silver. I've got some 30mm twisted silver tubes. I've got one eye pin. In terms of beads, I'm going to be using some of these little Hemalyke Rondelles. Now I've used these before, you will recognize them from my upside down earrings, and if you would like to see the video for that, I'll leave it linked in the description box below, as well as for the necklace which I made to match. I've got some beaded Rondelles here. These are my hematite beads, and as you can see they're all stuck together. So they are quite an interesting bead. They are longer than they are wide, and they have faceting on them. I've also got some 6mm drucks here in the colour violet. I've got some 3mm silver balls. I have some 6mm acrylic bicones, and these are in purple with an AB finish. I have some 8x6 glass Rondelles, and the colour is bronze, and they have an AB finish as well. Aren't they stunning? I've got some flat oval beads here. These are silver lined, they're lampwork beads, and I have some round lampwork beads as well. And the star of the show, or the focal, are going to be these twist silver lined beads. You will also need some memory wire cutters, or a pair of old cutters that you can cut your memory wire with. You don't want to use your good cutters to cut memory wire because you will blunt them, because memory wire is really hard. And you will also need a pair of round nose pliers. I'm also going to be using a bead stopper, and I've got my chain nose pliers. So I'm going to be working this memory wire bracelet in a little bit of a different way than I normally would. Normally I would start at one end and work to the other, but today I'm going to be working from the focal point, or the center, so I'm not going to make my loops until the end. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my wire, and I'm going to put a bead stopper on the end. Now if you haven't seen a bead stopper before, they are a wonderful invention. They are a big spring with these handles on the end. You just squeeze them open and pop in your wire or your stringing material, and then they don't move, so your beads won't fall off. Now I have my end. I'm going to start at the center, and I'm going to do my focal first. So I'm going to put on my twist bead, one of them. Then I'm going to put on 2 of my beaded Rondelles. And now I'm going to put on another twist bead. So that will be the focal part of my bracelet. And then I'm going to put on another beaded Rondelle on this end. And I'm going to put on one of my coins, another beaded Rondelle, and one of my round beads here. So that's what I have. Now I am actually going to finish this part, so I'm going to put on another beaded Rondelle, and now I'm going to put on some of my bronze beads. So I'm doing 1 bronze and 1 beaded Rondelle, and just alternating those until I have 7 of the Rondelles, or of the glass beads. So that's what I have now. I'm going to repeat from this oval bead back down to here on the other side. So I'm going to remove my bead stopper and put it on this side, on this end, and then I'm going to switch to the other end. Now you may be wondering why I'm doing it this way. The reason I'm doing it this way is it's easier to design a bracelet this way, because if you work from your focal backwards, then you don't have to take off all your beads if you change your mind. So the first thing I'm going to do is put on my rondelle and my oval and another rondelle, my round bead, another rondelle, and then my 7 of my glass rondelles. So I'll do that and then I'll be back. Alright, so now I have my beads on and I've pushed them down a few rounds just so that I have space to work. Now you will notice that my beads are meeting up. Now if you are using a larger memory wire, you will just add some extra beads here. So basically if you're using a 6mm, you'll add another bead or 2, and you might end up with different numbers. So you might end up with 6 on one side and 7 on the other, or 8 on one side and 7 on the other, and that's okay so long as you work that into your design. So what I'm looking for here is to have 1 full round of beads. So that's my first round, and then the next round I'm going to do is I'm going to use my violet beads. So just finding the end again. And I find that if you sit it down and just kind of pull it up, that's the easiest way to find the end. Now because I finished my run with a glass bead, I'm going to use a silver bead this time to put between this bead and the next one. So I'm going to take one of my little silver balls here and pop it on. And I am going to put on one of my drucks and another silver ball, and I want to repeat that until I have 9 of my drucks, and I'm going to start and finish with a silver bead this time. Alright, so that is what I have now, and you can see everything's moving around, but that's fine. So I have a little 3mm ball, a druck and a 3mm ball, and I've also ended my run with a 3mm silver ball. Now I'm going to put on one of my silver tubes here. Now the reason I'm doing this is because where my focal is, I want the beads to be thinner, so I want to make sure that because I've used larger focal beads, I want to make sure that it's going to sit right. And so by using a thinner bead, or in this case a tube, I can make sure that it's going to sit nice and flat. So that will sit quite nicely up against those silver beads. Now I'm going to complete my round by repeating the silver bead and the violet bead again for 9 beads. So there's my run of violet beads, and you can see that I have exactly 1 round, and I have my tube in the center, and it will sit when it's all done so that those 2 beads are where that tube is. So next what I want to do is take my bead stopper off this end, and I'm just going to do that. Before I do that, I'm just going to push my beads down a bit so they're closer to the center, and then I'm going to put my bead stopper on the other end because I'm going to work from this side now. Now you could use 2 bead stoppers if you have to, but it doesn't matter, you can just switch backwards and forwards like I am if you wanted to. For this round I'm going to use my bicones, and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to start with a little silver bead because I ended with a glass bead here. So basically what I'm doing is accenting every bead with a piece of metal. So what I'm going to do is feed on the beads, alternating the silver ball and the bicone until I have 9 bicones, and I want to finish with a silver bead as well. So it's basically the same as the violet round I just did, but it is using the bicones instead. Alright, so I have my 9 bicones on there. Aren't they beautiful? They're so sparkly. And now I'm going to put on my tube. And remember, I finished with a silver ball, so I'm just basically want a silver ball next to the tube, like that. And now I'm going to repeat the other side of that with the 9, starting with the silver ball and doing the 9 bicones. So I'll just do that now. Alright, so there is my bicone round, and it looks like it's taking up more than a round because the beads just aren't pushed up properly. But it should be exactly a round, and I've got my tube there on this side. So while you're making a memory wire bracelet, they go all over the place and the beads don't look right, but eventually they do sit right. Alright, so I'm going to do my last round now on this one, and I'm going to use my magnetic beads. Now this is where the challenge comes in, because magnetic beads, they like to stick to everything. So to do this round, I finished with a silver ball, so I'm going to start off with a magnetic bead, and then I'm going to do a silver ball accenting it as well, and I'm going to put 8 of these on. Right, so that is what I have now with my hematite beads, and I had a silver ball at the beginning and I ended with a silver ball. Next I'm going to use my little Rondelles here, my Hemalyke ones, and pop one of those on, and another one of my silver balls, and then I'm going to put on one of my glass Rondelles, and that's the center. So I'm going to repeat that all the way around to finish this round. Now you may be wondering why I chose to put a rondelle in the center here and not just doing a plain round. Well, the reason for that is because the beads didn't quite fit, and this is the thing with designing a memory wire bracelet, is that you want all of your rounds of beads to be exactly the same length if you're going to have a pattern. Obviously with something like the bracelet that I'm wearing, it's not as important because it doesn't really matter if they overlap, but if you are wanting the design to sit right, then you do need to make sure that your rows are exactly the same length. By the way, if you're interested in making this bracelet or my necklace that I'm wearing or my earrings, I will leave you links to the tutorials for those ones in the description box below. I'll also leave you links to a blog post which will contain all of the details that you need to make this bracelet. If you're enjoying this and you would like to see more of my tutorials, then remember to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so that you'll never miss a thing. Also, if you really like this one, it would be really great if you'd give me the thumbs up as well. So there is my round. Do you like that little rondelle in the center? I think it adds something really special actually. Just rather than having just one round of plain beads. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. Now I'm going to swap my bead stopper to this side and I'm going to do exactly the same round on the other end. You can see here that my beads have attracted my eye pin. That's what happens when you're using magnetic beads. So there's my bracelet, and you can see the beads aren't all aligning, but that's okay because when I put the loops in it probably will. But if it doesn't, it's not a big deal because when you wear the bracelet it will move around and it won't be perfectly aligned anyway. Before I do my loops, I'm going to make my dangle. So I'm going to take my eye pin and I'm going to put on my little 3mm ball. Then I'm going to put on my rondelle, my glass one, my beaded rondelle, my one remaining bicone, and one more of my balls. Right, so that's what I have now. Now what I'm going to do is make a loop in the top. So I'm going to put my thumbnail at the top of that bead and bend, just make a right angle bend there. Now I didn't say this, but you actually will need some flush cutters. And I'm going to take my flush cutters and I'm going to make a cut in that wire using the flush side at about 1 centimetre from the bend. Now hold both ends so that nothing flies away. And now I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to make a loop. So just making sure that it's not sticking up and twisting around. Now if you haven't made loops before, I will leave you a link in the description box for a video on how to make them. So there is my little dangle, and I'm going to feed that on to the end. Push it all the way down by the beads. Now I need to make a loop in one of the ends of my wire here, and I may as well make it this end. So taking my round nose pliers, I'm going to just make a fairly small loop in the end. So twisting around, readjusting and twisting some more. So there is my loop, and I'm going to run my beads all the way back to that loop. So right from the other end. So now I have all of my beads pushed all the way up, and now I want to cut my memory wire to within about 1 centimetre of the last bead. Now these beads are actually quite good because they're not going to fall off because they're magnetic. Whoops. Okay, so that's what I have. Now I want to take my pliers and make a loop in this end. Now I do remember that I have a little charm here and I've forgotten to put it on, so I'll do that in a minute as well. Where did we go? So just twisting and making the loop. There's my loop. And all I have left to do is find my charm here and pop on my little heart. To do that, I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and I'm going to open this loop at the bottom of my dangle here. It would have been easier to do it before I put it on, but never mind. And popping on my charm and closing it up. So there's my wee dangle. So there's my bracelet, and it is lining up pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it. You can see all the center focals are lining up. Now with the hematite beads being magnetic, sometimes it won't line up because they stick to each other. But let me know, do you love it like I love it, because it's dark and moody and purple, and what's not to love, right? Let me know in the comment section below if you would have done anything differently. Now in the digital download for this one, I will leave you a layout diagram so you will see how I laid out all of the beads, because it's a little bit more complex. So I will leave you a link for that one in the description box below. The discount code for this one is DARK. So if you want to purchase the materials for this, you will get a 20% discount from our website on all of the beads I used if you enter the code DARK. Thank you so much for watching today. Remember to give me the thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and check us out on Facebook and Instagram, and I will see you again soon.